Hi fellow tankers, it's Mobius Y here, and I've got a long overdue garage update video coming up here. But I would like to go ahead and point out this isn't going to strictly be what I have in my garage. I'm also going to point out some tanks that I honestly never plan to get, so that those of you who sometimes come on my channel and request can you do a review or a video on such and such a tank that A, not only do I not have, and B, I plan to never get, you'll have a good idea of what tanks I will never have and never do a video on. So just starting off with the American tanks. T2 Light, Tier 2 premium light tank. One of my first premium tanks. Good little premium, really cheap, really fun. Good to pick up. T1E6X, I believe this was for the Xbox 360 anniversary. I don't play it very much, but a fun little tank to blow off some steam in. T7 combat car, basically very similar to the T1E6X, offered for free. Fun little blow-off steam kind of tank. Good little American premium as well. Earns you a little extra silver. M2 Light. This was my first love. I played this tank a lot when I was a noob. I had only a few hundred games to my account, and most of them were in this tank. If I actually do a beginner tanker kind of series, this will be one of the first tanks that I highlight, for sure. T1E6X1, I have never played this. The crew is still brand new, as you can see. Basically a T1E6X clone, except Xbox One custom paint job, and it says X1. Locust, Tier 3 American Premium tank. I got this for free, I believe, for playing the Xbox One beta. Good little Tier 3 American Premium to pick up. Kind of like the T2 Light, it's often sold on discount. Fun little tank to pick up and boost some silver earning as well as crew training in your American crews. Chaffee, one of my first loves. Great Tier 5 Scout. Thankfully, it still sees up to Tier 10, unlike the VK16 Leopard, which is unfortunate. I really should do more gameplay and a review on the Chaffee, to be totally honest, but I haven't played this ever since I found my love for mediums very much, honestly. I think I played it like 4 times. T23, a very rare Tier 7 American Premium medium tank. I bought this during the Founders event for 360, hence the special emblem on the side, indicating that it is a Founders tank. Good crew trainer. It's much better now, much more fun to play with the speed buff since it's basically on a 46 patent chassis, and it actually moves like one now. Very rare to pick up, tough to play, but definitely worth buying as it's not too expensive when they come on sale. T26E4 Super Pershing. I've done a review on this tank. I probably won't do another one. My stance on this tank hasn't really changed. It's a good premium tank to pick up for the price. I personally just don't like it. That is about all I have to say on that. But it is a pretty dang good tank for the price, especially. T95E2, this was one of the Founders tanks for the Xbox One. I've played 2 games in it. I should put more time into this one, to be totally honest, as it's not a terrible tank, but I'm just a little busy with doing other stuff. M46 Patton. Done a review on this. It is fairly old, so I might do a revisiting kind of tank talk sometime in the future, going over armor profiles and things like that. But it's a very good Tier 9 medium tank. Kind of overshadows the Tier 10 M48 Patton, but both are still really good tanks. This is a very great tank to have in anybody's garage, especially aspiring medium tankers. M48 Patton. This is a really good one. I don't really play it very much these days. I do have over 200 games in it, but I haven't really touched it in a long time. So at some point I will get around to doing a review on it. Just, probably not anytime super soon. T110E5, currently working on a review for this tank, but I still kind of... I don't really want to play it as much as I want to play my mediums. I like the tank. It's really good. I do favor this tank quite a bit. It's definitely a great tank to play and have in the garage. I guess I just suck with it. T982, my recent addition to my garage, going full scum wagon here. Finally got off the skill cannon. I felt dirty playing the skill cannon, and now I don't feel so dirty playing this thing. Even though it's got bigger batter splash radius, it's way more inaccurate. More fun to play than the skill cannon, if you ask me. But whatever, I have a Tier 10 artillery now. I'm gone full scumbag, officially. Starting into the British tanks, Matilda, very dangerous Tier 4 medium tank. If I do a new tanker kind of series, I will definitely cover this tank, as it's really good for its tier with an accurate, high penetration, high rate of fire gun, and pretty good armor for Tier 4. Cromwell, Tier 6 medium tank. one of my favorites. I haven't touched it very much lately. Played a few games fairly recently, but not too much. But a very good tank. I've done like one video on it. I really should do a review, as I have done one on the Comet, but that was a long time ago. Cromwell Knight, one of my only British premiums. Probably the only flag tank that I'll ever buy, because the rest looked ridiculous. But this is essentially a Cromwell B. But this is almost identical to a Cromwell. Very fun tank, very fast, cuts through tier 6s no problem. Comet. I haven't done gameplay on this in a long time. This is one of my favorite tanks in the game, by far. But like I said, I haven't done any gameplay on it in a very long time. I did a review a very long time ago, but that was still kind of when I was fairly new. I should probably renew that, or do a revisit kind of tank talk, checking out armor profiles and the like on that one, to be totally honest. FE4202, Tier 10 British medium tank. This was a godsend for me after the Centurions. I hated the Centurions. I really like the FE4202. A very solid performing machine. It may get replaced with the Action 10 Centurion on Xbox sometime in the future, as that is currently being looked at on PC right now. But that's not going to happen for us for a long time. So I will probably get to doing a review on the FE4202 at some point in the distant future. TOG 2, this is strictly a for fun premium tank, fun to run in TOG platoons, but other than that, I don't really play it. Don't have very many games in this thing, but I mean, if you literally want a big frickin' boat with a really good gun and nothing for armor and a huge health pool, then this would be a very lolzy tank for you to pick up. It's fairly cheap, so you could have 4 other friends pick it up with you and run 5-man TOG platoons. FE215B, this was my first tier 10, my first real tier 10 love. Great tank. Cannot say enough good things about this tank. I probably should get around to doing a review on it, but honestly, if you want to see a review, check out Ilkilles. He does more frequent gameplay on this than I do. I can't really remember the last time I did a video. I think it was one of my very first World of Tanks videos. So I might do more gameplay on this. I might do a review on it. Who knows? We'll see. 183, Death Star. I don't like this tank. I do have a fair bit of games in it. I was trying to get the old 100 games in TDs achievement, as I did free XP to this way back in the day, skipping past all the ATs. I played up to the Electo and left it at that. But I straight up don't like this tank. I very, very rarely play this, if at all. It's too RNG reliant for my taste, so there's a very good possibility that I'll just flat out sell it and buy a lower tier British heavy tank, to be totally honest. Or I might use the crew as I continue up the British artillery line. FE304, Bert the Avenger, working on getting the Crusader SP, but this tank itself is one of the most fun tanks available in the game. Part Scout, part TD, and part artillery. I've done some gameplay in this, but it was very newbie gameplays. I've gotten much more experienced with this thing as I've been playing it, and I might do more gameplay and a review of this in the future. German tanks, Lol Tractor, nothing really to say about this. It's the tier 1 German tank, whatever. I may do a review on this if I do a new to tanks or a new tanker kind of series, as this is a pretty interesting tier 1 to play, but don't count on anything. I mostly just play it when I'm waiting for downloads. Panzerkampfwagen 38H, the 38 Hotchkiss. I think this is the Micro Mouse, but I have yet to play it. I got it for free for some reason. I can't remember what the heck it was for, somewhere around X1 release. Doesn't matter. Haven't played it, haven't done a video on it. Panzer I Charlie, this would be one that everybody should have in their garage, especially those who don't get premium tanks, as this is a stupid fun tank, really fun tier 3 light tank. When I get around to doing a new tanker kind of series, I will definitely cover this tank. It can really teach you the aspects of scouting very early in the game before you start climbing up to the high tiers. And it's just a stupid fun tank to play. VK16 Leopard, one of my other first loves. Played this a lot. I've got more games in this than my Chaffee, actually, as I just like it that much more. Great tier 5 scout tank. Unfortunately, it doesn't see up to tier 10 anymore. I really liked that about it way back in the day. And this is like, within the first 3 or 4 months that the 360 version was released, that this would see tier 10. It hasn't for a very long time, which is unfortunate, but still a very good tier 5 scout tank. Panzer V-4, I bought this during the 360 Founders Pack, just like the T-23, hence the different emblem. The Ram Panzer, very good tier 5 German medium tank, also pretty rare. It's only been offered twice so far. definitely worth the pickup, as it's essentially a Panzer IV turret on a Panzer V or the Panther hull. Huge health pool for its tier, and pretty good frontal armor for a tier 5 medium. Panzer III 4. This I got for some new buddies that just jumped on when the Xbox One version came available. I actually like it. If I was to do a new tanker series, I would definitely cover this along with the T-34 for tier 5 mediums to really teach newer tankers how to pick up on medium gameplay aspects. The only downside to this tank is the on-the-move accuracy and the overall aim time. Not that great, but everything else about this thing, I really like it. It's mobile, it's got a pretty punchy gun, decent DPM, good view range, so on and so forth. You know, no armor to speak of, but it's a medium, so what can you do? E50 Ossifab, my second tier 10. I picked this up in March 2014, late March 2014, very first week of April 2014, I believe. This is what got me hooked on medium tanks. This was my favorite tank in the game before the STB-1 came out. It still is one of my favorite tanks in the game. Can't say enough good things about this tank. Definitely worth everybody picking up. It is a great pub stomping tank in the random battles. A great pub stomping tank. The review I did on this is very old, so chances are I'll be revisiting this in a future tank talk. Leopard 1, I've done 2 reviews on this so far. I've got a fair bit of gameplay on this. Now and then I'll still bust it out for some gameplay, but nothing too drastic anytime soon. Even though my most recent tank talk on this doesn't really go over things like armor profiles. I mean, the armor on this thing is, as I believe I heard a Blitz YouTuber say, it's made out of good intentions, hopes, and prayers, so there's really nothing to go over with the armor profile. But it's still a great tank to have in anybody's garage. It's not for everyone, for sure, with a complete lack of armor, but still a great tank. The Waffenträger, another one that I mostly just don't play this out of principle, because it's simply overpowered as fuck. Simple as that. When I do play it, these days it's very rare, and I simply throw on the 150mm gun and shoot nothing but high explosive ammo, because it's really fun to shoot an E100 in the face for 300 for 4 shots in a row, and all of a sudden they lost half their health. Other than that, there's a good chance that I'll actually wind up selling this thing, because, like I said, it's just overpowered, and I just don't play it out of principle. Sue me. ELC. I should play this thing more. Great tier 5 French scout tank. I did a video on it a very long time ago, but it's way outdated, and I mostly just showed you how to play it like an idiot, if I remember correctly. But I should definitely play this more. Train a crew in it, get it, turn it into a supreme tier 5 Bushwookie light tank. Great scout, tier 5 scout to have in your garage. Really fun tank to play. Definitely worth grabbing this one on your way to the Bat Chat. And speaking of the Bat Chat, here's the Bat Chat. Haven't done much gameplay on this lately. I should get around to doing a review on it. I believe I've mentioned this like a billion frickin' times in the last 6 months that I was going to do one. But I literally just don't play this tank. Because honestly, the gun kind of pisses me off. The handling sucks, the aim time sucks, etc., etc. It just misses shots way too much from 10 meters away. And tends to drive me up the wall. I just prefer more consistent mediums, and this thing doesn't really classify as a medium. It's essentially a tier 10 scout tank, is what it is. And scouts with autoloaders, not really my thing. FCM 50-ton, I'm currently working on a crew on this one, and I will get around to doing a tank talk review on this, as I feel this tank, while a $50 tank, very worth the money, for sure, if you want to help support the game and you also want to get a fun-to-play tank. I wouldn't recommend this to newcomers, though, not by a long shot, as it's a huge heavy with no armor, but a very good French crew trainer, so keep your eyes out for an FCM 50-ton video in the future. Russian tanks, T-127. This was a reward for buying the Panzer V-4 and T-23 Founders Packs when the Xbox 360 first came out. So this was kind of an illusion that we were going to get Russian tanks at some point, because way back then we had British, we had American, and we had German tanks, and that was it. And we didn't even have all the lines available that we do now. The British lines were just the heavy and the TD, and that's it. No mediums, no artillery, whatever. Anyways, very good tier 3 premium, pretty rare one as well. Good frontal armor, gets lots of bounces, really good crew trainer. I just don't play it very much. As last time I played it, I got very frustrating maps like Prokhorovka and Komarin over and over, and that just pissed me off. But a very good tier 3 Russian crew trainer. MT-25, stupid fun tank to play. Great tier 6 scout. Holy crap, I can't say enough good fun things about this. 27 horsepower per ton, 50 degrees per second track traverse speed, and 72 kilometers an hour top speed. This thing takes off like a rocket. It's insane, and it's got a nice 57mm gun to really harass people in their backsides. Very fun tank. There will be a scout tank review on this sometime in the distant future. T-44, done quite a bit of gameplay on this. Should probably do a revisiting tank talk, but that was pretty. I felt that was one of my better done reviews, to be totally honest. So I won't be doing another review on this anytime soon, showcasing armor profiles, as I believe I did a pretty good job covering this in my previous T-44 tank talk. But there will be one sometime in the future, probably sometime in 2016. T-54 did a fairly recent tank talk on this sometime within the last couple months. Nothing's changed on it, so I'm not going to be updating that one. But the chances are that I will play this when I help some other people grind Tier 9, so there probably will be more continuous gameplay on this. Great Tier 9 medium tank to have in anybody's garage, especially for aspiring medium tankers. T-62A, the first Tier 10 Russian medium tank. Great tank to have in the garage as well. In my opinion, should be the second Tier 10 medium you get off the T-54, since the T-62A is accessible off the crappy D-54 gun from the Tier 9 T-54. But nonetheless, this tank is worth it. The turret is indestructible from the front. The hull, not so much, but this is a great Russian tank, great flanker, really accurate, high-velocity gun, just a great tank to have in the garage. Object 140, this is actually my favorite of the three Tier 10 Russian mediums, and I've played it the least, simply because I've been working on other stuff. But there will be a review on this one in the future. There will be a review of the 62A sometime as well. I'll do a separate review of the Object 430, kind of as a reminder, and then eventually I will be doing a review of all three, comparing all three to each other, and basically highlighting what you want to look for in your tank and which line you should probably go down to get them. Object 430, my most recent Tier 10 medium tank in my garage. The run to the litter, I like this tank. The gun handling kind of sucks. It feels like the STB-1's gun handling, but still a pretty solid performing tank. Although it's considered the worst Russian medium tank, it's still easily one of the top 5, top 6 Tier 10 medium tanks in the game right now, hands down. Definitely worth the grind. The grind itself is really good. Lots of good keepers down that line. Churchill 3 Tier 5 premium heavy tank. I've played 10 games in this thing. I don't like it. It's too slow, and I guess I just plain suck in the damn thing. That's why I don't like it. But a very cheap tank to pick up. It's on discount very often, so for the price, it's a pretty good Russian crew trainer. IS-6, this is my go-to Russian crew trainer. I like this tank a lot. It's fun to play, especially in preferential premium tank platoons. I like being everybody's kind of spear. Just follow me in. I'll soak shots, and you guys can flank and dish out some damage. Very fun tank to pick up. Worth the $50. Definitely worth picking up. More so on discount if it ever becomes available. Su-85B, Tier 4 Russian TD. This is a stupid good TD, and it's a largely unknown TD. It's just stupid good for its tier. If I was to do a new tanker kind of series, this would definitely be one of the first TDs that I cover, as it's just stupid good for its tier. The Object 268, I have like 50 games in this thing. I spent a lot of time grinding for it way back in February of 2015, and I just don't play this thing. I like it. I like everything about this tank except its gun arc, which is very narrow, and the shell velocity. The slow as crap shell velocity drives me up the wall, and I have a lot of difficulty landing my shots because of it. So I don't really have very much fun playing this, but honestly, I should get around to just sitting down, playing it for a weekend, getting accustomed to it, and recording gameplay to do a review on it. Chinese tanks. I have the Renault NC31, which is the Tier 1 Chinese tank, and I haven't played a single game in it. So that is my experience with Chinese tanks, which is 0, because I have played 0 games in Chinese tanks. And that's all I have to say on that. Chinukai, Tier 5 Japanese premium tank. Good crew trainer. Definitely was worth picking up before the Japanese tanks came out. It was very, very, very cheap to pick up. And I'm currently training another crew in it to either pick up the Chiri or the STA-1. Depending on which tier I get an American medium at those tiers, I will get the opposite with this second Japanese crew. And this thing is just that good of a Japanese crew trainer. Definitely. And lastly, in my garage, the STB-1, my favorite tank of the game right now. great DPM, great mobility, great frontal turret armor. I mean, there's just not really many bad things to say about this apart from the gun handling. That's about it. This is just a great all-around, well-performing machine. Currently the only Tier 10 Japanese tank up until we get the heavies. Japanese heavies were a very recent addition to World of Tanks PC, and those will be eventually coming to Xbox, but not for at least several months. But when that happens, that will be interesting, adding more Japanese tanks. But so far, this is the only Japanese Tier 10, and it is very worth grabbing. My favorite tank in the game by far. So that's it for tanks that are in my garage. We're already 20 minutes into the video, so I'll try and speed things along and just name things that I will never get. Starting with the American tanks again. I'll mostly just highlight Tier 10s, just for the record here. T-57 Heavy. I'll never get this tank. Right now, it's kind of overpowered. It just reloads too fast. Simply put, too much overall DPM for this thing, and I don't really like the way how it plays. I have a lot of friends that play this a bit, and seeing other people play it, it's just kind of like a tank that makes me go, that seems kind of boring. Now that being said, the T-71 does interest me down the line, so I might pick that up. I might even stop at the T-54E1 if I was to go down that line. T-110E4, this isn't a case of never, it's just a case of if I had one last line that I was going to grind, this would probably be it. Simply because it's a Tier 10 TD, and right now almost all the Tier 10 TDs are borderline overpowered simply because we got the rate of fire buff without the alpha damage nerf, which essentially increased the rate of fire of 150 plus millimeter guns, but decreased the alpha damage, keeping the DPM the same. Instead, we just got a rate of fire buff to a lot of the TDs, the E4, the E3, the 268. Things like that. So this thing is borderline overpowered, but it's the most balanced right now of the Tier 10 TDs, aside from the Yagaru, in my personal opinion. Plus, the T-28 Proto really doesn't interest me. The T-30 doesn't either. They're just big and slow, and the Hellcat, however, I might pick that up at some point, as it's a really good Tier 6. Definitely worth adding to anybody's garage. The E3, I will never pick this up. This thing has been overpowered. Well, sorry, it was borderline overpowered when the game came out, and then this thing got buffed, and now it is overpowered. I'm flat out saying it right now. This thing is right now is overpowered, and I will never get one. Not to mention the T-95. Don't even get me started. 14 kilometers an hour. No, thank you. T-28, not much better. No, thank you. I'm just going to be staying away from this line altogether, to be totally honest. Let me see. What else is there? We've got Russian tanks. The Russian heavies, they don't interest me. The IS-7, the IS-4, they don't interest me. That being said, the IS-8 does, as it's actually a pretty fun-looking Tier 9 heavy tank. Good mobility with a punchy gun, so there's actually a chance that I would go down this line just for the IS-8. The Object 263, the most appealing Tier 10 TD to me right now, as it has a faster firing gun and good mobility. Kind of sort of medium tank qualities. That is a possible, but it would be like the second to last grind before I do the E4. Object 261, not interested. Artillery is really boring to play and really boring to grind, to be totally honest. So, whatever. I'm happy with my T92. German tanks, Get Wet E100. The worst Tier 10 artillery. I have no interest in going down the German artillery line whatsoever. That being said, the GW Panther is really good. The GW Tiger P is pretty good too, but the 9 and 10 are considered the two worst 9 and 10 artillery. Yagaru, not interested in this one bit. If I was to go down this line, I'd probably stop at the J Panther 2. Good mobility, great gun, good camo rating, and that's about it. Jagdtiger and Jagdpanzer E100. The Jagdpanzer E100 is like a pseudo-German Death Star. Very inconsistent gun, doesn't interest me one bit. Jagdtiger is just too popular for my liking, if that makes any sense. I'm just weird like that. The Mouse, I will never get this tank. It's big, it's slow, it's essentially just an XP pinata. That's how I feel on that. I will never get a Mouse. This line, though, I would very well stop at the VK45 Bravo, because right now the VK45 Bravo is ridiculous on the Xbox version. Its upper and lower front hull are 300 effective millimeters of armor. Like, borderline impossible. Actually, they are impossible to pen for Tier 9 and Tier 10 tanks with their standard ammo. You have to load premium to punch through this thing from the front, like without question. There are some that can do it in like the 2 weak spots on the front of this tank, but apart from you know, having a high pen gun, there's no chance on just even dinging this thing from the front. So that's a big possible. E100, I will never get this tank either. Just too slow, too popular for my liking as well. I don't like big, slow, hard-hitting, heavily armored tanks. They don't appeal to me whatsoever. That being said, the E75. I see so many E75s played wrong. It's very tempting to either grind up the Tiger 2 and then get to the E75 just to, you know, do kind of a review and actually show how to play this tank, which isn't camping at the back of the map, which happens all the freaking time. But you know, it's kind of a not very possible, but whatever. What else is there? Spy Panzer. There's a good chance that I'll be selling my Panzer III-4 crew, or just moving that crew into this tank, the Spy Panzer, because it just looks like a really fun scout tank to play. Good scout tank to pick up in your garage. We're getting on a little over 25 minutes here, so I need to hustle. British tanks, Conqueror gun carriage. I call it the cancerous gun carriage. Talk about a troll-ass artillery. The entire British line is just troll-ass artillery because they have such a high shell arc and can shoot over a lot of cover essentially. I will probably get there eventually, but it's very low on my to-do list, to be totally honest. Grinding out artillery, like I said, very boring. Artillery is largely just boring to play unless you're having, you know, a good time and all your shots are going where they're supposed to be. Crusader SP will be bought as soon as I have enough XP from the FE304. There's a good chance I'll be selling the Death Star at that point. What the heck was I going to say? The Electa would probably be another tank that I cover in a new tanker kind of series where I cover really low tier tanks for those new to the game. French tanks. The TD line doesn't interest me one bit. The entire TD line. Big turnoff. Don't know what it is, but apart from the fully upgraded AMX AC38, the fully upgraded Foch, and the Foch 155, I don't hear very many good things about this line. Besides that, they're almost as appealing as the Object 263 Russian line, as they are very mobile for TDs, but that's about it. AMX 50B, honestly, this will be my next heavy tank grind whenever the hell I get around to it. And I have to start at the Tier 2 D1, so that's going to be a fun line to go down. I will do every tank down this line for the AMX 50B, which is a really good ramming tank, and I like ramming things with the E50 OSFM, so I know I will like the AMX 50B for the same reason. Batchat 155, basically French artillery. Interesting in the fact that it would be fun to troll people driving this thing around in the middle of a battle and shooting artillery rounds at them every, what is it, like 6 seconds? You know, from about 100 meters away. Apart from that, I'm not interested in this line whatsoever. Chinese tanks. The 121, that will be my next medium tank grind. Well, full line grind, I should say. I haven't touched Chinese tanks yet, so when I do go down them, I'll be going down the medium line, so I'll be playing the Type 58, the T-34-1, the T-34-2. I won't be doing the scout tanks, even though they're considered, it's considered a better line, because you get more firepower than the medium tanks. But the medium tanks, you supposedly get a bit better mobility, and that is actually more appealing to me than firepower. The Chinese heavies are, they interest me as well, but not as much as the 50B. These tanks, for the most part, they're quite mobile, pretty decent guns. Looks like it would be a lot of fun. I saw my friends do work with the 110, the Wheezy 111, 1-4, and the 113. They just look like good, fun tanks, and I'd really appreciate them for their mobility. As far as Chinese premiums go, strongly considering either the T-34-3 or the Type 64 to start training a Chinese crew for when I actually do go down the Chinese medium line. Although there's a good chance that I won't, simply because I don't really need to spend more money on this game. And the Japanese tanks, I already have the STB-1 free XP day 1. Yeah, I'm a wallet warrior, sue me. But there's a good chance I'll be rebuying either the Chiri or the STA-1. It just depends on which one of the American tanks I decide to go with. Either the T-20 at Tier 7 or the Pershing at Tier 8. Just to kind of flesh out my garage a little bit, because if I got the Tier 7 or Tier 8 American tank, I'll be getting the opposite Japanese tank. And honestly, both of these really interest me. So we'll see how that goes. And we're back to American tanks. That essentially covers tanks that I do plan to get in both the near and the very far future, as well as tanks that I will never get. Honestly, like I said, a lot of the tanks that I won't get, mostly TDs. As not only do I not like TDs, but some of the high tier ones I feel are just, like I said, OP. Two of the ones that I have, I feel are OP. Honestly, the Object 268, really good rate of fire for how much damage it does right now. Its DPM is currently through the roof, and the Waffenträger off E100, definitely OP. Because you know, why play anything else when you can clip out a mouse with this tank? Like really. But that's all I'm going to say on it. I don't really think the Death Star is OP. It's just kind of it's just a huge dirt gun tank, which I think is just dumb. But that's strictly my opinion there. Now, if I've offended any of you because I just said bad things about one of your favorite tanks, well, sue me. It's my opinion. That's all it is. Okay, and. You know, but it might sound stupid, but a lot of that is the reason why I will never get some of these tanks that I listed, like the T110E3. I've hated that thing since I got my first tier 10. Like seriously, it's just too good for what it does. And then to top it off, like I said, it got buffed of all freaking things. But whatever. So call me weird, but that's what I have in my garage right now. What I will be getting, and what I plan to never ever get. Anyways, thanks for watching. We're closing in on half an hour here, actually past half an hour, so I will leave it at that. That's my latest garage update video. Hope that gives you an idea of what I'm shooting for, the kind of tanks I like to play, the kind of tanks I want to play, and the kind of tanks that I pretty much will almost never touch. As always, thanks very much for watching. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. I hope to see you on the battlefield or in my next video. This is Mobius Y signing off. You guys have a wonderful night.